police in Las Vegas found themselves in the middle of a UFO mystery last month after
To us, big eyes. They have big eyes.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal? Or?
One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
What sign? I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Okay, hang on.
He's right.
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
Mythical Legends Podcast with your host Daniel Barnett.
And welcome to another episode of the Mythical Legends Podcast. We have a great podcast. One of my dear friends who you may have heard of will be on with us today. Now we have our Mythical Legends co-host with us, Chris Alsford, co-founder of the UK BRT team and UK Bigfoot research team. So let's get him on. Hey Chris, how are you?
All right, Daniel, how are you?
I'm very, very well. We have a good guest, don't we?
It looks good, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if I say a little bit about this guest, he is a paranormal investigator and does research with another guest we had on the podcast a few weeks ago, Darren Graham. So, I'm very, very excited to talk to this guy. So let's get him on. Let's have a chat. If you guys have any questions, please just put it in the comments, or you can message me, and I'll get through to Paul. But let's get Paul on and let's have a chat. Hey mate,
hello,
how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on tonight.
You are very, very welcome, mate. So I'm going to jump straight in and go with, to you, what does the word paranormal mean?
Paranormal is a very small part of the supernatural. You know, to me, the paranormal is things that we try to understand, but we can't, because there is no logic behind what's going on, whether it's a bump, a creak, or we can't explain it normally. So we put it in the category of paranormal, but not everything is paranormal. Some things can be explained, some can't. You could say anything's paranormal. It goes bump in the night, but it's not always the way. But to me, the paranormal is a quest, really, to find out if what's going on and if there is things we don't know about, which we all know there is.
Yeah, and I've heard that also the paranormal word means just something that is just not as in normal in the paranormal world, and it seems to be not just ghosts, spirits, all stuff like that. It seems to be all cryptids can actually go under the word paranormal. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, lots of people have things happen and they call it it's paranormal. You know, they see these programs on the TV that, you know, really are for entertainment purposes only. So everybody gets a bump, a knock, a rattle, or they see something crawling around in the garden. It's paranormal, isn't it? You know, it's out of this worldly things. But also under that same umbrella is, you know, you're talking about UFOs, submersibles. You know, the paranormal is a very small part of a supernatural chain that, you know, whether we will ever get to find out the truth, you know, as technology goes on, technology is getting better and better, and it's helping us in our quest to find the answer. If we'll ever find the answer in my lifetime, I don't actually know, you know, but it's something that I'm passionate about, you know, and with my colleague Darren, you know, we have lots of fun. But the paranormal, you know, you go to an investigation as a skeptic. I do. You know, I go to, if we're invited to a private house, you know, we go there not thinking, oh, the house is haunted. We need the house to prove to us that it's haunted, you know, so we can connect. And then you get the real truth. Obviously, we don't research anything before we go in. We research when we come out. And it can, people say, oh, there's knocks, there's rattling, but sometimes it's a loose floorboard, it's heating, it's an old house, so it creaks, it moves, doors, some doors do shut on their own, a bit of breeze and they shut. But is that really paranormal? But that's for us to find out.
Yeah, and I think it's healthy to kind of debunk your own work, because then you have the side of you're not just kind of opening like this is paranormal, it's all paranormal, it's all ghosts, it's all of it. And I think then you go, well, actually that could be this, that could be this, and you open up all the kind of possibilities, if you know what I mean.
We do sort of, if things happen, we do question it. We are very much skeptics going in, although I've had many years of experience and many years of contact, but we still go into it as skeptics. You have to set yourself apart from it, because your subconscious mind is a very powerful thing. And I could go in there and say, me and Darren could walk into anywhere and go, oh, this is very haunted, but it may not be. But it's for that property, that house, that building, whatever, that land, to prove to us that it is haunted, it is paranormal, and it could be anything from land to water to houses to buildings. It could be anything associated with the paranormal. It's such a wide umbrella that covers a lot of things in the paranormal. People watch the TV programs, and it's all going off within that 40 minutes of that program, but at the very beginning of the program, it says for entertainment purposes, so you've got to read into that. If you sat there and watched an hour and nothing went bump, you wouldn't watch that program again. But I think sometimes people see these programs, there's bangs, there's knock, and they come on the events expecting bangs and knocks and doors to slam, and that's not always the way. It's a case of that spirits, ghosts, they suss us out as much as we're looking for them. They're not going to jump into someone negative, or or if you ask for them to bang a door, shut a door, do something, and the door slams, the last thing they want is you to go running, because you've asked them to do it, and I feel it's very disrespectful if they do it and you run off screaming. What's the point of being there? You're there to try and find answers, I suppose. Is there life after death? Will we ever find that answer? I don't know. It's my honest opinion.
Yeah, amazing. And I will say that it's very, very interesting to kind of think of the idea of life after death, because obviously we don't think about it on like a daily basis. When you delve deep, it's quite a rabbit hole, isn't it?
It is really, what a lot of people, people don't think about it. Is there life after death? Because it makes people feel vulnerable, because we all, at the end, we all go back to where we came from. There's no disputing that. We know that. We can physically see that. Our physical body's buried or cremated, but our soul carries on to another journey. We're here to teach, we're here to learn, whatever it is in this our life going through, and will we ever get the answer? I don't know, because if we never get the answer, there'll always be a quest of looking. It's like yourself with Bigfoot. If you suddenly saw one, you think, well, what do I do now then? It's over. It's that real passion that drives us forward, like myself and Darren. It drives us forward. I've been in the paranormal world for about 20-25 years, done lots of different places, seen, felt. I've had lots of experiences, but I still have that passion for it. I still want to push on, and learn. And I do learn a lot. I read a lot, about time travel. I'm very much interested in time travel, all this past life regression, all these types of stuff. It's all linked to where we are now. What were we in a past life to what we are now.
Now I will ask, as a joke, do you like Back to the Future?
No.
You don't like Back to the Future.
One of the few people in the English speaking world that doesn't like it.
Well, I'm very honest, but not my cup of tea, to be honest. But
Okay.
I have spoken to a very good friend of mine that's time travelled, and I told you the
Oh,
story
amazing.
of what happened on that when we did our Monday Night Live with him.
Yeah.
You know, and the research behind that, and the research behind what went on during the war, you know, leads you to believe, you know, there is such thing. But whether
Mm,
we'll ever be allowed to witness it, I don't know. You know, but
yeah.
I know firsthand from the story I've had that I quite believe what goes on. It's just that I don't think we're allowed to know what goes on in case we get panicked. You know, if they said to us,
Mm,
"Yeah, there's a Bigfoot, yeah, there's UFOs," we know that, then the whole world would panic, wouldn't they? Oh no, they're amongst us.
Yeah.
But I think it's the
yeah.
fear
Yeah.
factor of everybody going, "Oh no," that they worry about. But us as
Yeah.
just we go on like yourself and Chris. You know, you look for evidence, you look for, and the more you go on, the more you believe because you have to
Mm,
go looking for that link yourself. You have to dig. You have to ask the questions. You have to push yourself on. You know, you ask them awkward questions. You make them sort of suggestions because if we just carry on as we are, we will never find the answer. And we're the sort of people want an answer.
yeah. And yeah. Yeah, Chris, go on.
Yeah, Paul, I've often thought for a number of years that I've wondered how deeply politically motivated Hollywood is, because you have Back to the Future, but you have a lot of movies, Minority Report, this type of thing, and 12 Monkeys going back, 20 years,
Yeah.
and it's sometimes it's like seems to me they might be testing the water to see how the public reacts to a story.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I've seen the clickbait ads on come up with Google where time travelers caught on camera, this sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Actually, very compelling evidence in some cases. I specifically remember the guy in the cardigan with the sunglasses on
Yeah.
back in the 1940s. Very, very out of place. Not impossible.
No,
But is that?
I mean, there's a video about where there's a lady in the Charlie Chaplin era where she's walking around with a mobile phone.
Yes.
So, you know,
Fantastic Victorian-looking outfit, but a mobile phone held to her ear. Yeah.
so how can that be in the 1940 Charlie Chaplin 20s in the 1920s? You know, is it that they travel backwards and forwards in time? I'd say I have a very good friend of mine that traveled back in time. A very interesting story, really. But I often wonder, you know, I realise as a world, we are travelling through time, aren't we, in space? So we're actually moving through time anyway. But I do wonder whether they can do it to, like you say, feel the water and see what's going on. You know, if some of the videos you see are just mind blowing. You think, how can it just suddenly appear and suddenly disappear? How can they have a mobile phone and a Charlie Chaplin film? It's just,
Yeah.
so I do, and that intrigues me. That puts me on the path of I've got to find out. I've got to look, and you come to a certain sort of studded wall where you can't go any further, but you just need. It's like yourselves looking for Yeti and Bigfoot and all that. When you hit that wall, you're thinking, where do I go now? Where do I go now? And it's the same in the paranormal stuff. You
Yeah.
hit that wall and you've really got to do it yourself.
I actually showed one of this photo of this lady with the mobile phone held to her ear at work, and the first person that responded said, she's probably listening to a radio or something, and walked off perfectly satisfied with that.
Yeah.
His answer. He cleared up the mystery, and now they didn't have personal radios then either. That would be as strange as a mobile phone.
But do you think that's due to because we're conditioned as we grow up?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know, we're told all our life, aren't we? Left, right, black, white, yellow, red, green. You know, we're told what to think, and when you suddenly step outside that area of listening to what they're thinking, like we do, we're a lot of us in the paranormal world and yourselves and all in cryptids and all in the supernatural world, if you like. We're the people that have stepped outside of that comfort zone because we want to know. Our thirst for knowledge is massive. We want to know, where some people are quite happy to be blasé. Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, just someone with a radio. But if you look at 1920, why we should have had a radio to her ear?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Mm.
and to walk it off and just say, "Well, that's all that is." You know, there's a lot more evidence out there. And as say, I have a story. Whether we have time tonight to tell you the story of my friend who actually time traveled but didn't realise it. But it's a very interesting story.
If you hold that story, because
Yeah,
there is a
yeah,
there's a question that comes up that links to literally what you're about to say. So yeah, before I move on to the next one, is if you don't have that passion inside of you, if you don't have the perseverance to go out there in soaking wet and walk around a forest, or go and do a paranormal investigation, or whatever you're researching, there's no point in doing it. You
no,
don't have the passion. You, you don't have the ability to try and find things out, and also you need a healthy bit of like de- debunking
yeah,
yourself, and
yeah.
all that makes a good researcher.
You've
All.
always you've always got to question yourself, no matter what evidence you appear to have. You, and it's the difference between people just having a normal life or you're driven in life. You know, lots
Mm,
of us in this type of world of the supernatural are driven by answers. We need answers. We need questions. You know, it's our passion and our drive that pushes us through the paranormal world, the supernatural world. And then it's like yourself, you know, it's that passion to learn, to ask, to go, whether it's pouring with rain or it's freezing cold on a paranormal night. You're standing out freezing. And I mean, I've been out on some real cold nights, honestly. And you do question yourself. You think, who's the mad one here, me or them sitting at home in the warm? But then,
Yeah.
you know, you drop back to your passion of thinking, this is why I'm here. It's what I want.
mm,
I'm looking for answers. Whether I'm in 70, 80, 90 degrees of temperature or I'm in -5. And you know, I've been in -5 with a few people, Darren and that, where you think, oh my, you know, this is so cold. What are we doing here? But that's what drives you, isn't it? That's that passion to learn, to look, you know, no matter what nature throws at you and what people throw at you, you learn to drive, ignore what they say, and use your own drive to push you on. You know, if we didn't have the
mm.
drive, we would just be toddling along, going like the Chris was saying with the guy with the radio. Yeah, it's just a radio because he doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to know. He's quite happy in the normal.
Yeah. So it it's a very, very interesting world. I'll say that for starters, and it does drive you. When you get in that first rabbit hole and you're like, okay, and then you just split off. Then you just go everywhere, and I think that's one of the good things of kind of researching this stuff. It takes you, and you can't plan it. You can't plan saying I'm gonna go this way, and sometimes when you find stuff, it leaves you with more questions and answers, and then you can try and answer those questions, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's probably one of the good things of
Yeah,
researching. So,
I mean, it's like a rabbit in a headlight, isn't it? You know, once you get that
mm,
first contact, that first teaser, if you like, teaser of evidence, you think, I'm doing it right. Because obviously, when you first start off, you think, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? You know, am I doing something wrong? Why is it I can't find nothing? I can't get anything. But then it drops back to that passion and drive, and you drive on, and suddenly it's a rabbit in the headlight moment, isn't it? Oh, what have I got? There's a tap, there's a
yeah,
bang, the door's shut. You know, I heard a
yeah,
voice. And then the rabbit in the headlight starts, doesn't he? You think, now there's got to be more because I know what I've heard, or like yourself, I've seen a footprint. I know what's in that. You know, where is this going? You know, and you're in that rabbit in the headlight moment where you're
yeah,
dazed and you think, well, where do I go now? Because I wasn't expecting to find this here. You know,
yeah,
and you're thinking, what happens? You know, you're sort of,
yeah,
you know, you're not expecting to find anything. You go through the paranormal and like the same as yourself. You go along not expecting to find anything, but when you find that
yeah,
something, you think, where do I go now? Now I've got
yeah,
something I don't know. You know, and we all do that. Go through our time in the supernatural and not expecting to get anything, but when you have contact with spirit or something happens, you think, oh no, what do I do now? Because you're not ready for that, because we're not looking for that evidence. It suddenly hits us in the face,
Yeah.
and it's that
Go on,
rabbit
Chris.
in the headlight moment.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it's the discipline as well that you need, where you have one focus, one thing that draws you in, one thing. I always imagine it like you're on a train, which is your life, and you're looking out the window. Everybody else is listening to their iPod or whatever, and it's you that pulls the brakes to have a look. But once you open the door and you have a look, you're open this whole world, and there's a million things to look at, and you have to focus on the bit that you're interested in. Otherwise,
But then,
it's not just a rabbit hole; it's a maze down there. So, yeah.
but then we, as us, yourself and Daniel and that, we see things other people don't see. We notice things that other people don't see. They're I don't know whether you can call it the blinkers effect, where they're quite happy in their life going forward, and God bless them, they're happy with that. That's but the people like us that are hungry for research, hungry for knowledge, notice the little differences, and I think that's where it makes a difference.
Yeah. Right. So, we are 21 minutes in, and we've been through one question.
That's fine.
So, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine,
That
mate.
was Darren. It'd be 21 minutes on one subject. Bless him.
So, could you tell me a little bit about how you got interested into the paranormal world?
Very strange story, really. Sorry. Very strange story, really. I was oblivious to the paranormal world. I've got a course now. I was oblivious to the paranormal world, to be honest, as I was growing up. As I was a child, I had various things happen to me. So, not realising that I was given a gift, being able to talk to spirit and that sort of stuff. And it was, when I was probably in my mid-20s, really, before I realised, for 4 consecutive nights, 4 consecutive nights in a row, I can't shift this cough. 4 nights in a row, I saw my nan standing at the bottom of my bed at home. My ex-wife was in the bed, and it was always around about the same time, 3:01. For 4 nights, 10 past 3, 20 past 3, and I could actually see her. I just suddenly woke with a start, thinking there's someone in the room, because I felt the presence. But she was standing at the end of the bed saying something, but I couldn't actually see what she was saying. And I'm thinking, what's she trying to tell me? And this happened for 4 nights in a row, and I kept saying, is there something you want me to know? Is there something that I should be doing? Is there something different I should be into? And then on the 5th night, she never reappeared, and I've never seen her again. And I thought to myself then, at that specific time, is there life after death? Have I just seen something that I can't explain? Suddenly I got that grip where I needed to know, why was she there? How could she be there if she's passed? What's going on here? And that really pushed my passion into, which led me onto the paranormal, really, and start to research. I studied parapsychology at university as a mature student in the Royal Holloway University, in what they called the Stroads part of the college, which was for adults education, basically. So I was doing it evenings, weekends, after work, because then I had a full-time job. I had a family to look after, but my grip and my passion was to learn, and I joined this parapsychology class, and I'd go there up straight from work and not get home till midnight, and all sorts of things, and homework at weekends. It really hard work. But the course was 3 years, and it took me 3.5 years to do that, because I was obviously a bit behind with another guy, but eventually passed it with distinction. And then I thought, that set me on the right track. Now I know where I need to go. I just needed that, like you say, that moment to show me what I needed to know. I was looking into the paranormal, but never really knew much about it. And I tend to study things a lot before I move into them. you know, because you don't want to go crashing in and think, oh, it's just not for me. And then obviously from there on, I joined various groups, and then they come and ask me to join their teams, and started to then escalate into, you know, as you see me now, the passion is still there from 25 years ago. You know, I love it. I love knocks and bangs, and you know, people screaming in rooms and running around, and you know, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, I will say when Darren did the Shut the Mallet one, and we've been in that in when we were in a cell, me and Dad, we were having a look, and we had a scream, a really loud scream. And he turned around to me, and I can't repeat the words that he said.
I'd imagine I've heard of you.
Yeah, he turned around me and went, "Oh my!" I'll
Yeah.
rephrase it. Oh my God! What the hell did I
What
just
was
hear?
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But did that scare you or intrigue you?
Well, it's the first time I've been in a prison before, Paul, and I wasn't into wasn't into anything paranormal or Bigfoot. I didn't even know what Bigfoot was back then, and it was about 3 years ago, I'd say. And I kind of just went, I'm going to die. if anything runs at me, I'm going to die.
But I'm the sort of person that comes out of that cell and go looking for it. Where did it come from? What is it? What's doing it? What you know? I've been into basements where, you know, a friend of mine is as a TV presenter. You know, we went to a basement, and him and the cameraman were legging it away when we asked this thing to come and join us. You know, and it came at us. Okay, it came at us very quickly and a bit disconcerting even for myself. But they were running with the camera and saying, "No, we're having none of this," and gone. But me, because I asked out, I stayed there in this dark basement where you couldn't see a hand in front of your face. It was so dark, but you could feel that breath on your face, like they were standing in front of you. And I'm thinking to myself, I've asked you to come out. I'm not going to run. But oh my God, if I'd have eaten that night, I think I might have had an accident, because it was that close. I could feel the breath on my face, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to run because I've asked you to do this. And it was fine, you know. And then as time's gone on, you know, my partner Jenny, who's the psychic medium, taught me how to use my gift. And now I can connect with them. You know, like Darren says, you know, a lot of times I can see them. You know, they present themselves to me in front of me. But the basement was a very funny situation. You know, you laugh, and when you go outside and they're standing outside and their hands are shaking because they can't, you know, he's going, "What on earth was that?" He said, "Well, that's what we asked for," you know. And I'm thinking, you know, my poor heart rate's going like a trooper, and I'm thinking, this is not a good place to be on your own, Paul. But you stay your ground, you know. And when you feel that breath on your face, you're thinking, you know, should I be down here? But it, you know, it's showing respect for spirit because you've asked them to come out and do it for you. And if you run, they might think, well, what's the point of that then? You asked me to come out, I've done it, and you've run. And I won't do that. And Darren, you know, I'm very brave like that. You know, I will stand my ground.
See, if I was there,
sorry.
If I was stood there, I would have either ran or stood there and thrown up or crap myself. Or
so I said, if I'd have had something to eat that night, I think I might have done the second bit of your phrase, to be honest.
Yeah.
I might have left a trail on my running out, but I stood my ground, and you know, that's what I was there to find out. You know, you know, sometimes it's scary, but sometimes you've got to stand your ground and think, you know what, I asked you to do this, and out of respect, I'm going to stay and talk to you. And it was fine. You know, I was there for probably 20 minutes, half an hour talking to the spirit, you know, and they wouldn't even come back down in the basement. But, you know, it's situations like that. you start to question yourself a little bit. You know, it'd be like you if you saw a Bigfoot in the trees. You think, now, do I run? Do I take a picture, or do I just get out? You know, you're in that
Yeah.
dilemma. But if you're
Yeah.
looking for something with that passion, I think no matter how scary it became, you would stand there and watch it because that's what it's
Yeah.
about.
I think I would,
You know?
and
Yeah.
I say it, and I say to everyone, "Oh, I run," but when I actually think about it, I go, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't, and I would be terrified. Honestly, I would be, because this thing would be either 7, 8 feet tall,
Yeah.
and would be coming towards me. I go, I'm still not gonna run, because number one, it could run after me, and it could go within 4 steps. It could get by me. But the thing would be is I've been looking for this thing now for over a year. Am
Yeah.
I really, if I had a chance to have that sighting, am I really gonna run?
The chances are it would see you and carry on with its business because you're not causing a threat. And it's the same as in the
No.
spirit world. You know, you're not there to cause them a problem. And you always say that. "No, I'm not here to harm you. I'm not here. I'm just want to know your story." And it would probably be the same as you. You'd see it. It would probably look at you, but carry on with its journey because it has a purpose, doesn't it? It's on a purpose. And unless
Yeah.
you threaten it, there's no reason for it to attack you. It might
No.
look a bit
Yeah.
scary, but if you're just standing there quietly and it let it go about its business, you know, what's the chances of that Bigfoot running at you unless you're creating a problem?
There's actually
Yeah.
one of the TV shows is they interview father and son and his friend who they tried to build a tree house out in the forest and I'm pretty sure it's Montana, and they had some pretty aggressive experience. When they got the father came out with a gun, realized pretty quickly the gun wasn't going to work, and went and called the BFRT. And they sent out one of their lead investigators. And he went into the forest at night, banging his stick, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they heard the howls, and he came flying past them like his backside was on fire, jumping in his car, screaming, "Run, run, run," all the way. And it's this: be careful what you wish for. You know, have your if it's what you want, then you're gonna have to stand there.
Yeah, but if you're standing there banging a tree with a wood, you're trying to make contact with it, aren't you?
Yeah, and now you've got it. Don't go running off.
What exactly? Yeah, and I feel that about in the spirit world. If you ask for contact and you get it, okay. Sometimes it is completely scary. You know, out of the darkness comes a shape or a figure. You know, and when you're in a paranormal world and you're in total darkness, you lose one part of your senses. So you're losing your eyesight. So you're relying on your body, your hearing, you know, your sense of smell, sense of taste to do it because you're completely blind. You know, and if you're in that situation, you ask something to make contact, and then when it does, it might bang. Okay, it's a bit scary, a bit frightening. You think, oh, you know, why did you bang the door? But you're there to make contact. Like him banging the wood against the trees, it's to try and make contact. So when you get that response to that contact, why would you then run? You know, to me, that's disrespectful. I'm afraid.
Yeah. And it's like I've done howls from my speaker in the forest. I've done it multiple times, and I'm saying to Nan, I know it sounds silly, but we need to be totally prepared for this thing to come right out in front of us. We need to be absolutely prepared for this thing to come round and to come and stand in front of us. Now, I'm faster than Nan, so I'm fine.
You're fine. Leave her behind, mate. Leave her behind.
Yeah.
I do that with Darren. I stand in front of Darren. So if anything comes, I'm off. Then get him first.
And then we'll be long gone by the time they've eaten
Oh, couple of months, I reckon. Yeah, a couple of months, I reckon. I'll be on the other side of the world by then.
um, although Chris is quite tall, so might be kind of their height, which means
Just
you
trip
could
him up,
kind of.
Daniel. I've learned to trip people up.
I got a hell of a long stride. I can get a turn of speed on when I need to.
If
then
it's us three in the forest, then me and you, Paul, can trip Chris up, and then we can.
we
run.
will. Yeah, we'll rugby tackle him and then throw him backwards and then run.
Hmm.
But then if you do make contact, you know, would it be that it's inquisitive, what the noise is?
Mm.
You know, would it come out aggressively? You don't know. You know, I don't know anybody who I've watched various things on Bigfoot and Yetis and that. They don't appear to be aggressive to humans. It's just that they go about their daily business. You know, if you're threatening to them, I can imagine, you know, you've got a handful of problems massively. You know, it's the same in the spirit world. You know, if you go looking for negative spirits, entities, whatever you want to call them, devils, you're asking for trouble because you're delving in something you can't see and you don't know how to control. If you're like yourself sending out howls or yells or whatever they make, you know, and you hear a crash and a bang, the chances are it's coming to be inquisitive, not to attack, but what's that noise?
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? And you suddenly see it appear in the trees. You know, you've asked it to come out. You know, you've put the carrot, you dangled the carrot in front of the donkey, haven't you? You know, and I don't think you'd run. I think you'd see it and think, oh my God, am I actually seeing what I'm seeing? You know, and you doubt yourself. As soon as you first see, like when I first saw an apparition of a spirit, I doubted myself. I thought, well, it looks like a real man. You know, and when you saw Bigfoot standing leaning against a tree or comes out from behind a tree, at first you think, is it? Or am I seeing things? You know, and then that moment comes, doesn't it? You think, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. But if you played it and run, there's a good chance it would run after you. You know, if you stood your ground, there's a chance it would look at you and carry on with its daily business.
Especially if you just woken it up banging two sticks together,
Yeah. And you're supposed to be part of a Bigfoot research group, you know, and you're banging sticks, you know, you're trying to stir it up to get it to come out. But then when something happens, you're off. You know, to me, then it could run after you because it thinks, well, that whatever that is running, I'm going to run after it. You know, could you lead yourself in a heap full of trouble?
Yeah, and when out looking for these creatures, these beings, whatever everyone wants to call them, everyone does need to remember, if you annoy them, they are 7-8 feet tall. So you do have to be careful, and there are a few things that you need to kind of watch. But if you're just walking in the forest, it's not really gonna do much, is it? It's not. It may look at you.
It's like that famous video, isn't it, of that one walking through the forest by the river. You know, it's going. It knows he's there because it looks at him, but it's carrying on because it feels non-threatening. It's carrying on with its.
You got the look at scene,
And you look, it actually sees him, doesn't it, and carries on. So if you're not threatening, then I don't think they would come at you unless you did something really silly.
That's actually, there's a lot of theories that there's a juvenile where the Patty gets up and walks away from. There's a juvenile, and she's actually taken her time to draw the humans away.
Right.
We actually had an interview recently with a guy who'd been there to that Bluff Creek, and he said about how remote it is. It's not the place you drive and park your car and you know, 2 minutes later you're at Bluff Creek. You're in there for days to get to.
Yeah.
So,
But also we have to remember, you know, as our towns get bigger, we encroach on their ground, don't we?
You know, natural,
we're encroaching on everything in the natural world because our towns are now the human population's getting bigger, so we need bigger places. So we are encroaching into their territory, for want of a word. You know, whether they'll put up with that or not, you know, you would never ever see a fox in a town. Now you see loads of foxes because you're encroached into their territory.
And I think to remember that all the things out in the forest is their home. So if you encroach on it, there's a chance that they're gonna go back to you and go, "Hey, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
This is where I live," and that's where you could kind of add in the wood knocks, the howls, the rock throwing, and
A lot of that
I
comes down to experience, Daniel, to see the warning signs, isn't it? Like yourself and Chris, if you were in a forest, you'd think, hang on a minute, this path's trodden, these trees are bent over, things don't, it's quiet, nothing's moving, there's no birds. You suddenly think we could be approaching something here where,
yeah,
in the spirit world, it's the same thing. Before you get, before you get massive contact with a spirit, it suddenly goes quiet and it goes
Yeah.
if you imagine dark and then it goes even darker and you get that sudden stillness before something happens, and and as experienced as we are, myself, Darren and Jen and the psychics we are, you start to sense something's going to happen here. And it would be the same as you and Chris and other researchers in the forest. You think there's no birds, the footpath's trodden down, trees are misshapen. Am I walking into something I shouldn't? And you could avoid that. So that would then avoid a confrontation.
yeah,
There ain't much confrontation with an 8 foot tall Bigfoot, is there?
yeah. So it's and I've been researching the same forest for the last 12, 13 weeks, and I'm still finding new stuff.
Yeah.
Every time. It's like the last time I went back was with Darren and Angela,
Yeah.
and we went into a part of the forest, dead silent. I mean, absolutely dead silent. Now I can't say that there is anything there, but as in that part of the forest, but we're going back soon, so we're gonna find out. And
But then that's where your experience comes in, because you suddenly realise there's nothing. So then you start to tread very carefully, don't you? You start to have, and it's like having your senses, when you suddenly, your body, it's like in the paranormal world, you can have thousands and thousands of pounds worth of equipment when you do a ghost hunt, a paranormal night, whatever. But the one thing that will tell you above all is your body, whether something's wrong or right. You don't need thousands of pounds worth of equipment to tell you, I need to run here, because your body will tell you. Your body is the best sensor, best bit of equipment you'll ever take into a forest, a paranormal night, somewhere unknown, because, we get that goosebumps, the hair standing up, and then that fight or flight mode comes in. The machine won't tell you to run. It'll say, uh-oh. And then, but your body will say, you need to get out of here. You need to be quiet. You need to move now. Your body will tell you that, where a sensor, a camera, or any piece of equipment won't tell you that. So my advice to people is always heed what your body's telling you when you're in a situation, because it will tell you the right thing to do at that time. Never let you down.
That does raises a point about the TV shows where they get the FLIR camera up. They're in the forest at night. Something tells them get the FLIR camera up. They see something moving through the forest, and it's got a range of 30 yards. You shouldn't be that close. you should have been long gone. And that bit of machine is not helping you.
No, because that all that does is it gets you more intrigue. Oh, let's get closer and see what it actually is. But what you've got to realise, within 30 meters, 30 yards of an animal that's travelling through the night, that's not looking for grass or leaves. That's looking for meat, isn't it? It's travelling by night in stealth.
Yeah.
So you're walking
I would be
straight
long
into
gone.
something. And me, I'd probably leave a trail, but I'd be long gone behind you. Don't worry. As long as this sense of smell is not good, I'd be thinking we'd be all right.
Well, if they're that close to an animal and they're not hearing much, my guess would be it's either a bear, lion, cat, something like that, because yeah, I will be long gone, which is why I'm so glad we live here in the UK because we don't have to worry about that. Apart from cats, where it's
Well,
another mystery where
but
we
what you
don't
got to
worry.
remember is nothing's been proven in this country, is it? So
Hasn't
we
yet,
don't know
no.
whether we have bears in this country. We know we have wolves,
Oh,
you
don't
know,
say that.
and they travel, don't they? Wolves travel in packs. They travel for hundreds of miles. You know, we have bears because we've introduced bears into circuses and things like that. So what's not to say there's bears in the wild? There is because we
true.
see them on the nature program. So going out into a forest, not knowing what's out there, that's when you're on your guard, isn't it? You know, and if you do pick something up, you know, on the flare and you see it moving, you know, why would you want to try and intercept it? It's hunting at night for a reason because you can't see it, but it can see you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
my opinion is I'd be running with you. And it's the same as in the paranormal world. You're looking for ghosts. You know, do you really want to go looking for negative entities, things that can harm you? That's not my cup of tea. That's
no.
not what I go out looking for. I go out for the thrill of trying to find the answer, not to be scratched, pushed over, bitten, whatever you know they can do. I steer clear of that because I know the consequences of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paul, we have gone through 2 questions and we have done 46 minutes. So, I'll be able to ask you one more question,
Okay.
and I think I am going to have to get back because I want my podcast to and my viewers to know your story, because I heard it and it was
Yeah.
bloody amazing.
It's intriguing. It's
yeah.
mind blowing, isn't it?
I have a one-word answer question, if you don't mind.
No.
I have a 130-year-old house.
Yeah.
It creaks and shrinks and everything all day. Doors don't slam, but the dog is often staring at something coming down the stairs or looking out the door. And I'm like, what the heck? Anyway, my neighbor told me that the elderly lady fell down the stairs and died here. So my question with the one answer is, should I be worried?
No.
Cool.
But I
don't
do
dig
sense a
any
man around.
deeper. I'm happy with
But
that.
I do sense a man in the house as well with you, with the lady.
Huh.
But it's fine.
Hold on.
But I do.
Just gonna have a word with the dog.
Yeah. But I do sense a man in the house with you anyway. So no, it's fine. You'll be fine. I mean, you know harm.
Your face, Chris.
When you said the man as well, like comfortable with an elderly lady, yeah, that's no problem. Yeah.
It's only because you can outrun her.
Amazing, Paul. So my last question is going to be for you. I had 15 questions for you. I've gone through 2.
Right.
What is the most important piece of advice when encountering a ghost or a spirit?
You know, my big advice to anybody that goes on the paranormal, you know, ghost hunts, I don't like to use the word ghost hunt because at the end of a hunt, there's a kill. And that's not what we're in it for. It's a paranormal night. It's an investigation. You know, I get a bit annoyed when people say hunt. You know, it's not about hunting anything. My biggest advice is don't go on your own. Because, you know, people go into abandoned houses and a lot of paranormal investigators are killed doing investigations because they're traveling through a building and you're constantly looking around you. The last place you look is below you. And they fall down lift shafts and they're killed in lift shafts because they don't see the hole. Because you're so intrigued what's going on in front of you. If there's a noise, a voice, whatever, you know, conversation, you forget to look down. And how many times do you walk along and trip over something? Oh, because you didn't look down. And my advice is to, whenever you go on a paranormal thing, whether it's for fun, it's event, you know, events are good because you're in within a crowd. But if you're going on your own, you need to be well equipped, torches, batteries, and don't go on your own. That's my advice.
That's possibly the most important advice. And to everyone out there that is watching this interview right now, I can definitely say, do not go alone in in the woods or any place that you are going to look for anything paranormal, cryptids wise, because it can get dangerous and you never know. You may get lost, and which is why in the forest I never go alone. And you never should, unless you know what you're doing and you are very, very experienced in what you do. And I mean, then, and still at that point, there's no point, because taking a partner, you've doubled the strength.
The thing is, no matter how experienced you are, you can have that one accident where you're on your own. There's no phone signal, and we all know sometimes you can't get a phone signal. And that one moment, you could be an expert. You slip, break your leg, ankle, then you truly are in deep trouble, aren't you? So my advice is never ever go on your own.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
Know what time you left and what time you're coming back. Rough guy, because sometimes you could be out a bit longer than you expected. It happens when things happen on a paranormal thing. But if you're in a team and you're missing for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, someone's going to come looking for you. You're not on your own.
And it's like we're going to kind of flush something out at the beginning of January, and going to that trip, I'm getting as many people there, so it's going to be me, Chris, and then the rest of the team, because the reason why there's no point in flushing someone out when there's little amount of people. And I will say, we're all having radios. If someone done that to the radio within 2 minutes, I need to get someone there, because it needs to be
that
safe.
old saying, it's that old saying, and Krista knows it, there's safety in numbers. And that's what you've got to remember, is safety in numbers. It's a very old saying, and Krista will know it, but it's true, isn't it, Chris? Safety in numbers.
Yeah. Amazing, Paul.
You're
thank
welcome.
you so much, Paul.
You're very welcome.
It's been amazing, and thank you, Chris. So thank you to everyone who has watched.
Thank you, Chris.
Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel and our podcast. Please also watch Monday Lives with Darren and Paul. Will be on there. I will also be on there, and occasionally Chris's as well. So, guys, we shall see you soon. But thank you so much, Paul. It's been an amazing evening.
Very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Mythical Legends podcast. For more information, check out our Facebook group. The truth is out there.